Welcome to ND Love Story, where love stories are told with raw emotions and captivating storytelling. If you enjoy heartfelt and mesmerizing love stories, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to ND Love Story so you won't miss any episode. During his last summer of college, Alex spent most of his time working as a lifeguard at the campus pool. The job wasn't too difficult, mostly just keeping an eye on the swimmers. But it gave him a quiet space to think about everything in his life. Alex had never been openly gay. He'd learned to hide his feelings for years, telling himself it was best to keep his distance, especially from the guys he might accidentally develop a crush on, in a college environment where everyone was curious and loved to gossip. He didn't want to become the subject of those conversations. The college pool was a regular haunt for Ryan. He was one of the best swimmers on the team, always impressive with his confidence and powerful style. Ryan had a tall, muscular build, broad shoulders, and chiseled features that made anyone take notice. He wasn't just good at sports, he also had a smile that easily drew people in. Even though Ryan seemed friendly with everyone, Alex still felt he was a bit out of reach, the type of guy he shouldn't even think about. However, Alex's eyes would unconsciously follow Ryan whenever he showed up, whether Ryan was warming up, diving into the water, or performing those strong swimming strokes. Alex couldn't help but watch. Sometimes, he'd blame himself for this unnecessary attention, but that didn't change the fact that Ryan had occupied a small corner of his mind. Things started to change on a quiet Tuesday morning. With the pool almost empty, Ryan finished his workout and headed toward the lifeguard chair where Alex was sitting. Water still clung to his hair and tanned skin, making each drop sparkle in the light. "Hey," Ryan greeted, his voice deep and relaxed. "You're Alex, right? I've seen you around a lot." Alex was startled but quickly regained his composure. He nodded, trying to keep his tone as natural as possible. "Yeah, I work here," Alex replied. Ryan smiled slightly. "That's right. We were in Psych 101 together last year, weren't we? You were the one who always asked those interesting questions in class." Alex was surprised by Ryan's attention. He didn't think Ryan remembered him, let alone that Ryan would initiate a conversation. His chest felt a little warm, but he quickly hid it and just shrugged. "Just curious," Alex said, trying to keep his tone casual. Ryan nodded, his eyes full of interest. "I meant to talk to you after class a few times, but you always disappeared so fast." Alex chuckled softly, trying to hide his embarrassment. "Guess I was busy." Ryan looked at him for a moment, then suddenly said, "I'm trying to improve my butterfly stroke. Could you help me? I've seen you swim, and you're pretty good." Alex couldn't stop his heart from beating faster. Alex didn't think that conversation with Ryan that day would change everything. At first, he simply agreed to help as a lifeguard with some swimming experience. But the training sessions gradually became a habit, and before he realized it, Alex was looking forward to every morning to meet Ryan. The first lesson took place right after Alex's shift. Ryan sat on the edge of the pool, his legs dangling in the cool water, the morning sunlight reflecting off the shimmering droplets on his skin. "I've been practicing the butterfly all week, but something still feels off." Ryan sighed, looking at Alex with expectant eyes. Alex took a deep breath, trying to keep his voice calm even though his heart was swirling with emotions. "Could you try it once so I can see?" Ryan smiled, nodded, and then dove into the water. As Ryan began to swim, Alex observed every movement. Ryan's broad shoulders moved rhythmically, his muscles tensing with each reach forward. The water parted easily in front of Ryan, but Alex still noticed some areas that weren't quite right. When Ryan touched the edge of the pool and looked up, his breath was heavy, but his face was still full of excitement. "Your rhythm is pretty good, but your arm stroke doesn't have enough power, and your leg kick isn't quite the right technique," Alex said, reminding himself to focus on the technique, not on the way each drop of water slid down Ryan's body. "Really?" Ryan narrowed his eyes at him, his hair still soaking wet. "Could you show me more clearly?" With no other way, Alex had to sit on the edge of the pool and demonstrate. But just talking wasn't enough. After a few minutes, Ryan suddenly suggested, "Could you get in the water? I think if you demonstrate directly, it would be easier for me to understand." Alex hesitated, being too close to Ryan. Was that a good idea? But then, seeing the sincerity in Ryan's eyes, He nodded and gently slid into the cool water. As the two stood close together in the clear blue water, Alex couldn't help but notice how close their proximity was. Ryan looked intently at him as he demonstrated the movement, his blue eyes seeming to reveal every movement of Alex. Like this, Alex said, slowly performing a proper leg kick. Ryan tried to follow, but as his arm swung down, he accidentally touched Alex's arm. A jolt of electricity ran down Alex's spine. Although it was just a light touch, it made him feel breathless for a moment. "Oh, sorry," Ryan laughed, seemingly unaware of Alex's embarrassment. "I'm a little clumsy." Alex tried to remain calm, nodded, and continued to instruct, but the truth was that from that moment on, every time their eyes met, something inside Alex resonated. In the mornings that followed, they continued their habit of meeting at the pool. They didn't just talk about swimming anymore. During breaks, they sat on the edge of the pool, their feet dangling in the water, talking about everything. Alex learned that Ryan was the only son in a family with a tradition of sports. He had a little sister who looked up to him, and a father who always expected him to achieve the highest results. "Sometimes I feel like I have to be perfect all the time," Ryan confessed one morning. "Can't fail, can't slow down." Alex looked at him, for the first time seeing a Ryan who wasn't as confident as usual. "No one's perfect," Alex said gently, "and you don't always have to be putting on an act." Ryan smiled slightly, but there was something different in his eyes. Then one day, as they sat on the edge of the pool as usual, Ryan suddenly sighed. "My girlfriend broke up with me." Alex paused, feeling something difficult to name. "I'm sorry," he said, trying to keep his tone neutral. Ryan shrugged, chuckling slightly, but it wasn't the comfortable smile usually seen. "She said I've been too distant lately, not caring as much as before." He went silent for a moment, then looked down at the water. "Maybe she's right." Alex hesitated, then carefully spoke. "Is there something bothering you?" Ryan turned to look at Alex. For a moment, his eyes seemed to waver, as if there were many things he wanted to say but didn't know where to start. But then, he just let out a long breath. "I don't even know. It's just lately, I've been thinking a lot." Alex's chest suddenly tightened. The vague but intense feeling made him want to ask more, but he didn't dare. A minute of silence passed. Then, as if wanting to dispel this strange atmosphere, Ryan suddenly laughed and patted Alex lightly on the shoulder. "Anyway, no more sad talk. Let's race to see who's faster." Alex raised an eyebrow. "Are you sure? I'm not easy to beat." Ryan gave him a challenging smile. "Then prove it." They plunged into the water together, swimming side by side, slicing through the clear water. Alex's heart raced not only because of the competition but because of something even bigger. He knew, deep down, that everything was gradually getting out of control, and perhaps, he no longer wanted to control it. Everything changed one late evening when Alex stayed at the pool after hours to practice alone. The pool lights reflected a soft yellow glow, creating sparkling ripples on the surface. Alex quietly swam through the still water, letting his body move by inertia. But his mind was in chaos. Those mornings with Ryan, the conversations, the accidental touches that left strange aftershocks, all were swirling in his head. Suddenly, the pool doors opened, footsteps echoed in the empty space. Alex lifted his head out of the water, and his heart skipped a beat when he saw Ryan standing at the edge of the pool, his eyes searching for him. "What are you doing here at this hour?" Alex asked, trying to keep his voice calm even though his heart was pounding. Ryan dropped his bag, sat down on the edge of the pool, his legs dangling in the water. "Guess I figured I could find you here." He took a deep breath, his eyes distant. "Couldn't sleep." Alex swam closer, his hands gripping the edge of the pool, looking up at Ryan. "What's wrong?" Ryan was silent for a long moment, then whispered, "I can't stop thinking about you." Alex's heart seemed to stop. All the sounds around him seemed to disappear, leaving only the sound of water gently swaying between them. Ryan slid into the pool, the water embracing his body as he swam closer to Alex. They stood facing each other, just a few steps apart. "I don't understand this," Ryan whispered, his eyes troubled. "I've never felt this way before, about a guy." Alex's breath caught in his throat. Part of him wanted to back away, to escape what he'd always feared. But another part, the part that had longed for this for a long time, wanted to throw himself into Ryan's arms. Ryan reached out, hesitated, then lightly touched Alex's hand underwater. The sensation was like electricity running through his body. "I don't know if this is right," Ryan said, his voice almost breaking, "but I can't ignore it anymore." Alex swallowed. "Are you sure?" Ryan didn't answer with words. Instead, he took another step, raising his hand to touch Alex's cheek, gently as if afraid that if he was stronger, this moment would vanish. Alex closed his eyes, and then, as if the whole world had led to this moment, he felt Ryan's warm breath. When their lips touched, the first kiss wasn't rushed, wasn't forceful, but gentle and hesitant, as if they were stepping into an unexplored territory. But at that very moment, the pool doors unexpectedly opened again. Footsteps echoed, and Alex startled and pulled away from Ryan. Ryan also quickly backed away, the two looking at each other in panic. A voice called out from afar, "Is anyone in there?" Alex's heart raced as he realized it was the campus security guard. Ryan squeezed his hand underwater, as an act of reassurance. Then, with a decisive motion, he swam toward the shore, pulling Alex along. "Let's go," Ryan whispered, and both quickly left the pool, their hearts still pounding not only because of being discovered, but because of what had just happened. After that night, everything between Alex and Ryan was no longer the same. The mornings at the pool continued, but an invisible tension enveloped them. Before, every touch, every exchanged glance could be regarded as accidental. But now, they both knew the truth. They had kissed. Alex felt his heart was like a small boat drifting in the sea, carried by waves of emotion that he couldn't control. When Ryan walked into the pool the next morning, Alex tried to act like nothing had happened. But Ryan's eyes said otherwise. They exchanged fleeting glances, quiet moments between the water. One time, when Alex was fixing Ryan's swimming stroke, their hands accidentally touched for longer than necessary. Alex startled and pulled back, but Ryan didn't pull away. Instead, he looked at Alex for a long time, as if he wanted to say something but didn't dare. One late evening, when Alex had just finished his shift, Ryan suddenly appeared at the entrance to the pool. No one else was there. Only them. "I need to talk to you," Ryan said, his voice serious. Alex slowly nodded, his heart pounding. They sat down on the long bench, the atmosphere between them heavier than ever. Ryan let out a long breath, as if he was struggling with himself. "I don't know what to do, Alex," Ryan confessed, his eyes troubled. "I never thought I'd have these feelings for a guy. I've tried to ignore it, tried to convince myself that this is just a mistake. But then I realized, I can't ignore it anymore." Alex swallowed, his chest felt constricted. "So what are you going to do?" Ryan looked down, his hands clenched. "I don't know. I just know that I want to be with you. But I'm also scared. Scared of what will happen if people know." Alex understood that worry. He had lived in that fear for many years. But he also knew that avoiding it wouldn't make the feelings disappear. "I'm scared too," Alex said softly, looking straight into Ryan's eyes. "But I don't want to pretend that this doesn't matter." Ryan was silent for a long moment. Then, unexpectedly, he reached out and took Alex's hand, squeezing it lightly. "So, can we keep this between us for a while?" Ryan asked, his voice almost pleading. "Until I'm ready?" Alex looked at Ryan, looking at the struggle in his eyes. And he knew that the only answer he could give at this moment was to agree. "Okay," Alex whispered, "we can keep it a secret. But not forever." Ryan nodded, his eyes full of gratitude. And in that moment, when their fingers intertwined under the dim lights of the pool, Alex knew that he had stepped into something irreversible, something both terrifying and incredibly beautiful. As time went on, Ryan and Alex gradually found their own rhythm in this secret relationship. They still met every morning at the pool, still exchanged stories about classes, about the team, about the little things in life. But now, there was something different between them, an invisible but stronger bond than ever before. Even so, the tension gradually grew. Ryan began to feel conflicted between his feelings and the reality of the world around him. Every time he was with Alex, everything became light and clear. But when he returned to the swim team, with the pressures from the coach, teammates, and even his family, he felt himself being pulled back into a reality full of constraints. One evening before the most important tournament of the year, Ryan called Alex to his apartment. When Alex walked in, he immediately realized something was wrong. Ryan wasn't smiling like usual. Instead, There was an unusual pensiveness. Alex sat down next to Ryan on the sofa, his heart pounding with worry. "What's wrong?" Ryan took a deep breath, as if he was trying to sort out his thoughts in his head. "I've been thinking a lot." "Alex." He looked straight into Alex's eyes, his voice low but firm. "About us. About everything." Alex clenched his hands together. "And what have you decided?" Ryan sighed. "I don't want to hide anymore." Alex paused, his eyes widening. "You mean?" Ryan nodded, his eyes resolute. "I'm not saying I'm going to come out and be public right away. But after the tournament tomorrow, I don't want to hide us anymore. I don't want to be sneaking around. Don't want to pretend in front of my teammates. In front of my friends. I want to be myself. And I want to be with you, in a real way." Alex's heart beat faster. He had dreamed of this, but never dared to believe that it could happen. "Are you sure?" Ryan smiled. For the first time that evening, he reached out, gently taking Alex's hand. "I've never been more sure of anything." Alex felt the warmth from Ryan's hand, felt the sincerity in every word he said. A wave of emotion surged through his chest, a relief, a joy mixed with fear. "Tomorrow, no matter what happens, I want to hold your hand without worrying about who's watching." Ryan continued, "I want to live true to what I feel." Alex smiled, his eyes sparkling with emotion. "Then I'll be there. No matter what happens, I'll always be by your side." Ryan squeezed Alex's hand tighter. And in that moment, there was no more fear, only two hearts beating as one, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The day of the tournament finally arrived. The atmosphere in the arena was more tense than ever. The teams gathered around the pool, the roar of the crowd echoing throughout the stands. But amidst all the excitement, Ryan could only focus on one thing: Alex, who was standing in a far corner, quietly watching him. Ryan took a deep breath, trying to focus all his thoughts on the competition ahead. This wasn't just another match. For him, this was a turning point, both in his swimming career and personal life. He knew that as long as he finished this race, as long as he swam his best, then he would make the most important decision of his life. The starting buzzer sounded, and Ryan plunged into the water. His body sliced through the water like a sharp blade. Each stroke, each arm movement was powerful and precise. He wasn't just competing for the title, but also for himself, for the boy who was watching him from afar, for the freedom that he had always been afraid to seize. When Ryan touched the edge of the pool, the victory buzzer sounded. He had come in first. The cheers exploded throughout the arena. Teammates swarmed around. The coach slapped him hard on the shoulder. But Ryan couldn't focus on any of them. He just wanted to find Alex. In the moment of chaos, Ryan broke away from the crowd, his eyes scanning the stands until he found Alex, still standing there, his face mixed with joy and worry. Without thinking, Ryan rushed toward him. Despite the crowd, despite the hundreds of eyes watching, Ryan stepped in front of Alex, his eyes shining brighter than ever. "You promised you'd be by my side, right?" Ryan asked, his voice slightly trembling, not from fatigue but from the emotions surging inside him. Alex opened his mouth to say something, but didn't get the chance. Ryan pulled him into a tight embrace, and before everyone's stunned gazes, he leaned down, placing a kiss on Alex's lips, a public, bold kiss, and nothing to hide. Space seemed to freeze in that moment. Ryan could feel the stunned looks around, the whispers rising. He knew that this moment could change everything, both his career and the relationships around him. But it didn't matter anymore. A burst of applause unexpectedly rang out. Ryan turned his head and saw Ethan, his best friend, standing there with a supportive smile. And then, like a ripple effect, other claps followed, more and more. Some of Ryan's teammates smiled. Others looked awkward, but no one said anything. Alex gasped as Ryan released him, his eyes still shining with astonishment. You really did it?" Ryan laughed, his eyes full of relief. "Yeah, I told you I didn't want to hide anymore." And for the first time in years, Ryan felt truly free.